tú no pronuncias jalapeño, 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 jalapeño. Hola friends, welcome to Spanish with Esteban, the series where we dig deep into Spanish language topics and the history and culture that go with it. In this episode, we're going to talk about the most unique letter in the Spanish alphabet, the ñ. We're going to talk about its history, we're going to talk about how it's pronounced, and we're going to get into it right now. Now. Where does the ñ come from? Believe it or not, the letter ñ actually relates to the history of paper. Today we take paper for granted, but in medieval times it was really hard to come by. In general, office supplies were pretty hard to get. Getting staples in the Byzantine Empire, impossible. Paper was brought to Europe via the Muslim invasion of Spain, but didn't become a thing until the printing press was a standard. It was not only hard to manufacture it, but also its connection with Jewish and Muslim origins made Europeans mistrust it. Medieval Europe, get your stuff together. Latin scribers used to write on vellum or prepared animal skins, usually calf skin or sheep skin, but could also be like squirrels or rabbits or any kind of animal. Hey, can I have your rabbit? I need to send a letter. All this to say, writing surfaces were hard to get and copyists needed to save space, so they started using scribal abbreviations. A lot of special characters came from this practice, like the @ sign or the ampersand or the pound sign. And in medieval Latin, when an N or an M was preceded by a vowel, or when it was repeated, it was replaced with a charming little wavy line on top of that vowel to symbolize that tiny N. So the ñ is really an N on top of an N. And an N. You can see the use of that line to represent the missing letter N here. This is the motto of the monarchs of Castile, tanto monta, or it amounts as much. Not a great motto if you ask me. Something like, don't mess with Castile would have been like a lot better. In both English and Spanish we use the word tilde for this line, but tilde is actually the diagonal line on top of the vowels. The real name of that line in the ñ, ready, is virgulilla. It comes from the Latin virgula, which means rod, so virgulilla actually means little rod. How cute is that? Initially, the purpose of this virgulilla was to indicate a nasal sound, but also to make vowels look cool on a hat. So the Latin sound for GN, NN, or NI evolved differently in each Romance language. For example, you'll see the use of GN in Italian, like in lasagna, or in French, vignette. You'll see NY in Catalan, like in Catalunya, and you'll see NH in Portuguese, like in amanhã, or tomorrow, mañana. But Spanish is the only language that uses its own letter to represent that sound. Both Spanish and the letter ñ owe a lot to Alfonso X. He standardized the language and established a linguistic and orthographic norm around the 13th century. I guess that was one of the reasons why he was called Alfonso el Sabio, or Alfonso the Wise. Later, the ñ would become officially part of the language when Antonio de Nebrija published the first book devoted to the rules and grammar of Spanish. Gramática de la Lengua Española, published in 1492, which was a big year for Spain. Not great for other people, but for Spain, great. Español, the language. The ñ has become such a big part of the identity of the language that it's even included in its own name. The language actually used to be called Castellano from the Kingdom of Castile, and Hispania was the Phoenician name for the geographical area of what is now Spain and Portugal. Around the same time the ñ was officially adopted, España became a unified political territory. They unified, they regained the territories that they lost to the Muslim invasion, and then started an exploration and sail to new territories and all that stuff. So the word Español carries with it not only the peculiarity of the ñ, but also its history, the sound of the ñ. You'll see a lot of English cognates that come from Latin using NY or GN instead of the ñ in Spanish. For example, canyon for cañón, or signal for señal, or senior for señor, which is not actually a cognate, but you get it. But the sound is more than just a combination of NY. So let's talk about phonetics a little bit, because it may help you pronounce the letter correctly. Phonetically, the sound of a normal N is called an alveolar nasal. This means that you're putting your tongue right behind your teeth and the air comes through your nose. The ñ sound is called a palatal nasal because instead of putting your tongue right behind your teeth, you're pressing against your palate and then releasing air through your nose. It's like you're violently crushing something with your tongue. And if you're trying to make this sound at home right now, God bless you. Like, it means you care so much about this that you don't mind sounding like a crazy person. Hunting for the ñ. You've probably seen the ñ in a lot of Spanish words like mañana, niño, señorita, and of course, español. But today I'm going to go to a Latin American market here in the US to hunt for it and find it in the wild. Okay, today I'm going to take you to Rodriguez Supermarket in the Latin American neighborhood of my city. This is where I usually do my grocery shopping for all my Latin American needs, and I'm going to go in the hunt for the letter ñ. Here's a little bit of a warning. Everything I will say in the market today will be in Spanish, okay? I'm not going to go into a market and speak in English, okay? I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that. But pay attention to cognates that I'm going to use and the context, and hopefully you can follow along. Nosotros tenemos muchas palabras en español que utilizan la letra ñ. Yo voy a buscar palabras en el mercado. Una palabra muy especial que tiene ñ es una palabra para las fiestas en español. La piñata. Ok, nosotros tenemos las frutas y la verdura. Y otra palabra con ñ, mi fruta favorita, la piña. Otro producto muy especial en los mercados es este, el jalapeño, que tú conoces, jalapeño. El jalapeño es mi pimiento favorito. Tú no pronuncias jalapeño, jalapeño. Ok, muy bien. Vamos ahora por aquí. Piña colada. Esta es una mezcla de coco con piña colada. También tengo la piña rebanada. Y tengo la piña molida. Molida. Nosotros tenemos algunas marcas que tienen la ñ. Por ejemplo, La Costeña, que es una marca muy popular. La Costeña es el nombre para una persona de la costa. Es una persona de la costa. La Costeña. Probablemente conoces la crema, ¿sí? Pero tú conoces la crema mexicana. Ok, crema mexicana. Y más específicamente, la crema salvadoreña. Otra ñ, salvadoreña. Es la crema de El Salvador. Aquí tenemos la pasta o los fideos. La pasta o los fideos. Y una pasta que utiliza la ñ es la pasta de moño. El moño. Otra palabra muy común con la ñ, el baño. Hola, señor. Señor. Hola, señor. ¿Tú conoces la palabra señor? Quizás conoces la palabra señorial. Muy bien, este es el tour del supermercado. Nosotros vimos muchas palabras con ñ y gracias por venir. We did it! Okay, not only did we learn a bunch of new words with ñ, we also got a churro, which is the number one thing I have to do every time I go to a Latin American market. So Thank you all for joining me in this little tour. And hopefully you learn something, or at least get some Spanish, or at least you get to see me eat a churro. If my little tour was not enough for you, here are my top favorite words with ñ. Montaña. I'm from the Andes, so I love this one and it has to go in. Fun fact, Montana, the state, comes from this word. Also, Montana is the only state in the country that uses a motto in Spanish, oro y plata, gold and silver. Enseñar, to teach. I'm a Babbel Life teacher, so this one also goes in. Muñeco or muñeca. It means a doll, but can also be used to describe someone who is very good looking, like, you know, the people watching this video. Hola, muñecos. The feminine word muñeca also means wrist. Hola, muñeca. Guiño, or the verb guiñar. You can take a guess on what this means. For those who don't get it, it means to wink. Buñuelo. Any kind of fried dough can be called buñuelo. I like the word because it sounds like it tastes. Buñuelo. Buñuelo. Ñoño. Few words start with the letter ñ, and this one has two. It means nerdy or spineless. That double ñ sound can be brutal. Ñoño. Cariño. Cariño literally means affection, but it can also be used as a term of endearment. So it's like instead of saying honey or love, you could use the word affection to show affection. Like, claro que sí, cariño. Of course, my affection. Cariño mío, my affection. Finally, my favorite ñ word. Drum roll, please. Ñaño or ñaña. It's used in my country, Ecuador, and also in Peru and Chile to mean brother or sister, but also to refer to a very good friend, like your BFF is your ñaño. The word comes from the Quechua word for sister. And there you have it, my dear ñaños, the letter ñ. Lots of emotions in that little letter, huh? So what's your favorite word with ñ? Let us know in the comments. Also, please don't be a ñoño and like and subscribe for more Spanish content. Also, if you're curious about buñuelos, take one of my Babbel Life classes. We're going to talk about food in the Hablando sobre Comida class. Comida. Anyway, gracias y hasta pronto. Guiño.